So I'm in Columbus, Ohio, and I'm heading east on West Broad Street, heading into town. And Columbus is the largest city in Ohio. It's the 14th largest city in America. And it has a population of 915,000, which is rising steadily. It's 52% white, 27% black, 7% Hispanic, and 6% Asian, which is fairly typical stats of all of the all the larger cities in Ohio. They're all right around this those same numbers. The average age here is 33, which is a little on the young side, but all of the larger cities here in Ohio seem to be right around that 33, 34 is their average age. There's, of the adults, 14% are seniors, and that's kind of a low number. Usually it's, up closer, 17, 18, something like that. So it's a younger population here in Columbus. There's a 45% home ownership rate, which is anything below 50% I consider low, but 45 is actually not too bad for a city like this. The average income's around $46,000, and 18% of the population lives below the poverty line. And of the 18% of the population that lives below the poverty line, 27% of all the blacks in Columbus live below the poverty line. So it's 18% across the city live below the poverty line, but 27% of the blacks in the city of Columbus live below the poverty line. I'm a couple miles right now from downtown, and we're heading that way. I started recording earlier because that area that I first started recording in, the buildings were all closed up, and it was okay. The GoPro cut out. Hopefully it doesn't keep doing that. These GoPros are great for doing things with, but they have a tendency to overheat, and once they overheat, they just start cutting out randomly. So hopefully I can get through this video without it cutting out too many times. I was talking about first where I started earlier than I normally would have, is because that area I was in looked like a bad area of town. I was only in it for a little bit when I first started recording. Okay, it looks like the camera's going to just keep cutting out on this trip, so we'll try to get through this as quickly as we can. Where was I? They have a 36% marriage rate and a 70% labor force participation rate, which is really good, kind of. A lot of cities aren't quite that high. A lot of this end of town is like boarded up and not used, and there's a lot of people, when the camera was off, there was a lot of people just hanging out on the street and sitting down on the side of the road with, nothing to do. But 63% of the people that live here were born in Columbus, and they show that 8% are non-citizens. Yeah, you can see all these on the left here, all these things are boarded up. Everything's boarded up. That place is open, that diner. So their homicides, they spiked to 206 in 2021, which 2020 was the year of Floyd and all the riots, and a lot of cities spiked in 2020, but a lot of them really spiked, and the bad year for a lot of cities was actually 2021, after the lockdowns were lifted and people began moving around again. 2021 got really bad. And typically it goes up and down here, their homicides, but typically they're between 100 and 175. So for them to be at 206, that was a big number for the city of Columbus. And the murder rates here, just because of its size, it can absorb a lot of homicides. So the murder rates here are in the low teens to mid-upper teens. And I mean, anything with a murder rate around 10, I consider regular city murder rates, if they're right around 10. So this is higher than regular city, but if you take a city like Chicago, Chicago's murder rate is 22. So it's worse than just what you would normally expect in a city, but it's nowhere near as bad as Chicago. And with their population rising, unless the homicides stay up high or keep rising, their murder rates are going to stay at a reasonable level. Their assault rates are really low. They're in the 200s per 100,000 people. And that's really low. I mean, like a city like Chicago, I think even Cincinnati, I think, was in the 500s. Both Chicago and I think Cincy are in the, so to have 200, that's really low. Especially, again, though, this city it's got a larger population and they can absorb a lot more than cities with smaller populations can. The theft rates are in the 2000s, which again is 2,000 per 100,000 people. It sounds like a big number, but a lot of cities like this are in the 3, 4, 5,000s. And you also have to play into it that there's a chance that they're just not reporting a lot of this stuff. A lot of cities don't report, they don't report any thefts above or below a certain monetary value. So if they're like San Francisco, you got to steal over, what is it, $950 there or something now, $950 or something ridiculously high like that. I don't know here if they do that. I don't know if they have a number like that they just, as long as it's below that, they literally don't even, the cops don't even go out for it. So depending on what they have here, what the dollar amount is, if they have that could play into the low theft rate that they have. Their total crime is 69% higher than the national average, which is right in with the regular city levels. So the crime here, at least how they are reporting it, and I'm not saying that these numbers are all accurate because I don't trust any of the city's numbers. There isn't a single city that I trust the numbers they put out, not one. And that's why typically with this channel, I stick to the homicides, because it's harder to hide a homicide than it is all this other stuff. All this other stuff can kind of get lost in the mix of things. It's harder to hide bodies because they're typically going to have somebody that cares about them. It's going to draw their attention, and they're going to, wonder like, hey, why did this get swept under the rug, or something like that. Where like assaults and thefts, there's so many of them that no one's going to notice if 30 or 40 or 50 or whatever, just they're not added to the total. Nobody's going to notice. So your odds of becoming a victim of a crime here is 1 in 26. And it's showing a year-over-year increase of 3%, which isn't that much, but if you don't get that stuff in check, that can add up really quickly. So hopefully they keep things in check here and don't allow that to get too high. The cost of living here, lower than the national average. The schools, they graduate about 40% of the students proficient at reading and math. The state of Ohio is 61% and the US is 48%. So they're worse than both the Ohio average and the US average by quite a bit, actually. And 86% of the people that live here have completed the 8th grade. 85% have completed high school. So doing a little math, and I'm going to try and get over so we can make a right on one of these roads. see if they're gonna let me over. Yeah, we'll turn it right on this road. So we're turning right now on we're turning onto South Grant Avenue. We were heading east, so we should be heading south now on, yep, South Grant Avenue. So that makes sense. So doing a little math on their schooling, you got 85% have completed high school. So 40% of 85% equals 34%. So 34% of the population here, around 1 in every 3 people, can read and do math at a 12th grade level. Around 1 in every 3 people. And that is just shameful that that is kind of normal in America right now. There's no, they put all this money into the schools, and we have the worst schools in the world. Maybe not the worst, but of any Western civilization type place, we have some of the worst. And it's just, you wonder that the crime's going to keep going up when you can't graduate students that can do basic things like reading, like doing math at a 12th grade level. And people will tell you, well, nobody needs to know algebra, that's not this, and they'll say all this stuff and try and pawn it off like it's okay that the kids don't learn this, or oh, they can figure all that out on their phone. Siri can do it for them. It's still just, it goes to a lot of what they're going to be able to physically do in their life and not have to rely on their phone or, somebody else to do stuff for them. And it's going to really limit the jobs that they're even, one, going to be capable of doing, and two, that anybody would even consider hiring them. Because if you're even a job like McDonald's, to some degree, you have to be able to read and do math. If you're going to work the drive-through or work the register, although now they have all those machines that do all this stuff for you, but if you're going to work the drive-through and someone gives you cash, you have to be able to give them change back. Now, obviously, you type in whatever it is that they give you, and the register tells you what to give them back, but there's still some level that you have to have the capacity in your brain to do that. And if these kids aren't even getting that, and they can't get basic jobs, which, by the way, the McDonald's out here, there was one that showed that they're paying $18 an hour for just the regular workers, the people that cook the fries and flip the burgers and take the money at the drive-thru. $18 an hour. And the managers make $27 an hour. And there was another one I saw that had a sign out, they were hiring, and they were paying $16 for the regular workers and $25 for the, let's get behind this student driver, $25 for the managers. And they had a big thing about that because California wanted the McDonald's people to make $20 an hour. And it's not a job that's supposed to make 20, in my opinion. It's not a job that's supposed to. I worked at McDonald's. When I was 15, I got a job at McDonald's. I worked there for a couple of years, into high school. I worked there. I was probably 17, I worked there. And it paid whatever minimum wage was at the time. I have no idea what it was, but it paid minimum wage. It wasn't very much, whatever I was making. It wasn't very much, but I was living with my parents, and that was a very good job to have as a first step job, But people are trying to turn these jobs that are first step jobs into career jobs. And I guess it could be, I had a friend that when I worked there, a friend of mine, my best friend at the time, she ended up becoming a manager. and she's still a manager. She does, I don't know what you call it, like, it's like a manager that manages a whole bunch. I can't remember the name of it. She like covers an entire area of McDonald's where she like is in charge of all of them and just making sure everyone is okay. She makes really good money. And back when, you know, when I was 16, 17 years old and she was the manager, she was a couple years older than me, she was making a ton of money for that age. She was making a lot. I don't remember what it was at the time, but she was making a lot. She had a nice new car, and she had all this stuff that, you know, me on minimum wage, I wasn't coming close to that. But she rose up in the ranks in it, so then it kind of is, you can make it a career. But to be like the person that puts the fries in the oil and the person that flips the burgers, that's not, it's not meant to be the job you get at 17 years old and stay there your whole life. It's just not meant to be that. What are you doing, person? Okay. Just go wherever you're gonna go, dude. New driver, please be patient. Okay, there's a lot of student drivers out today. This must be the day to do it. Road closed. Oh, we'll go up here. So I'm not knocking McDonald's or anything. I'm not knocking anybody that works at McDonald's. I worked there and I liked it. Oh, it looks like the GPS is putting me on the freeway. So I'll sum this up quick. I'm not knocking McDonald's at all, but I am knocking the paying them $18 and paying them $27 when the prices at McDonald's have gotten so high that nobody, and the main people that go there are people of lower income. That's their main customer base is people of lower income, and when you pay the employees that much, they're not going to be able to lower the prices. So they're losing a lot of their customer base because the prices are too high, and when you keep paying the workers that much, there's no chance they're ever going to be able to lower those prices. So anyway, that was Columbus, Ohio. GPS put me onto the freeway and it didn't look like I had too many outs. So I'm going to cut this off here. Hope you enjoyed that ride. Columbus is actually, if you're safer than a lot of the cities, of the larger cities in Ohio, only because of the large population, and statistically they can absorb a lot of the crime numbers that other cities can't. So thanks for watching.